Today we walk through a recent blog post on this topic. The writer is in the room. The writer's words are the only voiceover. No maxims, no borrowed proverbs. Just what the post actually says. We'll move through it together. Context, problem, 3 concepts with examples each. The objection the writer answers in their own voice. And 1 step you can take tomorrow morning before the inbox fills up. Sit with it. The framework is the scaffolding. The post is the story. Here's the shape of the post. It opens with the reader in a specific moment. How to build an AI-assisted copywriting workflow that boosts efficiency without sacrificing quality. That's the line that lands. The rest is just unpacking. The hook isn't decoration, it's the contract. Read past this sentence and you've agreed to be walked through a specific problem by someone who's already done the work. Most copy never makes that contract. Most copy just announces itself and moves on. Before the structure comes the weather. Where was this post written from? Who was it written for? The audience isn't generic copy fans, it's someone with a specific page in front of them looking for a specific fix. The context tells you what shelf to file this read on. If the context matches your Tuesday afternoon, a brief you didn't ask for, an editor chasing a deadline, a sales page that isn't converting, then keep listening. If not, scroll on. Nobody needs another framework they can't use by Friday. Every post of this shape names a problem first. Without a problem, the post is a brochure. With a problem, it's a prescription. The writer's problem is the shape of the reader's pain. If the writer got the problem right, you'll feel yourself sit forward. If they got it wrong, you'll close the tab inside 10 seconds. The problem scene is the moment you decide whether the rest of the read earns your time. It's also the hardest scene to write because every reader's pain has a slightly different edge. After the problem comes the setup. Why now? Why this audience? The writer explains what changed to make this relevant at this moment. Setup is the bridge between I feel this and show me how to fix it. Without setup, the post sounds like a therapy session. With setup, it sounds like a recommendation from someone who's been where you are. Setup is also where the writer earns the right to be prescriptive in the next scene. First concept, the writer's main move. Usually it's a category the reader didn't have before, a name for the thing they've been doing wrong. The category matters because the reader can repeat it to themselves at the moment of decision. If the concept doesn't survive that test, if it can't be muttered under your breath while you scroll past a competitor's ad, it isn't a concept. It's decoration. The strongest concepts from copywriting history fit on a sticky note, so does this one. First example, anchors the concept in something concrete. A number, a name, a case study is how the reader recognizes themselves in the idea. Examples do the persuasion work that the concept alone can't. A reader who disagrees with the concept can still be moved by a single specific moment, the cafe, the timestamp, the email open rate that nobody bragged about. So the example has to be particular. Generic examples convince nobody. Second concept, the mechanism. How the category in concept 1 actually works in the wild. The reference text is where the writer points you for the deeper version. The mechanism is the part most readers skip, and the part the writer spent the most time on. Without a mechanism, the post is a vibe. With a mechanism, it's an argument you can repeat tomorrow morning. The mechanism is the difference between that's nice and that's how it works. Second example, the counter case. Why this isn't naive enthusiasm, what the writer warns you away from. How to build an AI-assisted copywriting workflow that boosts efficiency without sacrificing quality is where the second example usually lives. The counter case is the post integrity test. Any post can be confident when the evidence is on its side. The honest post names the case where the framework doesn't help. That's the moment you trust the rest of what the writer says. Skip the counter case and the framework stays a toy. Third concept, constraint, the boundary. What's outside the writer's claim? At some point, the writer admits what they're not covering. Constraints are rare in copy because they shrink the market. But shrinking the market is how you sell to the people still in the room. A concept with a stated constraint is more useful than a concept with universal reach because the reader can plan around the limit. Universal claims are unmemorable. Bounded claims are repeatable. Third example, the honest one, where the writer says, this works except when it doesn't. A real audience can smell a sales pitch that pretends to be honest. So the third example has to be a moment where the writer admits the framework underperformed. A launch that flopped, a page that didn't convert, a context where the rule didn't hold. The honesty isn't weakness. It's the moment the reader stops treating the post as marketing and starts treating it as a recommendation from someone who's earned the right. Synthesis. The 3 concepts collapse into one line. If a reader forgets everything else and remembers that one line, the post worked. Synthesis isn't summary. Summary is what you write when you don't trust the reader to remember. Synthesis is what you write when you do. It's the line that survives the reader's commute, the reader's second tab open, the reader's 3 days of not thinking about it. The line is the deliverable. Everything before it is the argument for the line. Objection. A good post names the reader's objection before the reader thinks to ask. This sounds like another X. Why is this one different? Unnamed objections live in the reader's head and quietly kill conversion. Named objections come out into the open and can be answered. The writer who skips the objection scene has decided the reader won't notice. The reader will notice. The objection is also the writer's chance to show the work, to point at the specific failure of the alternative that the new framework fixes. Counter. The writer's answer to their own objection. This is where the post earns its keep. Most posts skip this and the reader notices. The counter has to be specific. It is different because it's not a counter. It is different because the cost of being wrong is half what it was in 2019. It is a counter. The reader is reading for a reason they haven't told you yet. The counter is your chance to name that reason before they click away. Skip it and the post stays polite. Answer it and the post stays useful. Implementation. The reader has to leave with a step. Pick one. Apply it tomorrow. The post is doing its job if the reader takes a step, not if they finish. Most posts treat the implementation scene as decoration, a friendly wave at the end. It isn't decoration. It's the only scene the reader will remember 6 weeks from now. If the step is generic, write better headlines. The post has wasted its energy. If the step is specific, write 5 headlines, cut the one with the smallest nouns. The post earns its place in the reader's notes. Result. What the world looks like after the step. Concrete. Verifiable. Timestamped when possible. The result scene is the post contract with the reader. If the writer promised a specific outcome and the result scene describes a generic improvement, the reader notices the gap and closes the tab. The result scene has to name the metric, the time window, and the plausibility. Vague result, vague framework, vague trust. Specific result, the writer takes the same risk the reader is about to take. Advertorial Wizard, full blog post, full framework applied to whatever you're writing. The CTA isn't a button. It's the moment the post admits it has a next step. The next step is on the site. The framework, the examples, the case studies, the templates. If the post earned the trust, the CTA is the natural exit. If the post didn't, the CTA is the reason the reader remembers the post as marketing and not as a recommendation. Treat it as part of the read, not as a banner. Recap. How to build an AI-assisted copywriting workflow that boosts efficiency without sacrificing quality. 3 concepts. 1 implementation step, that's the post. Now write yours. Recap isn't summary. Recap is the line that survives the second screen, the line the reader mutters to themselves on the walk back to the desk. If the recap is the same as the synthesis, the recap is wasted. If the recap is shorter, sharper, and applies the synthesis to the reader's tomorrow, the recap earns its scene. Recap is also the writer's permission to be direct one more time. Use it.